Hello Vinyl Community, this is Randall. Back today with another video. I've gotten a few records in the mail in the first part of April, so I'm going to show those to you today. Before I get around to showing those to you, I wanted to make a correction from a previous video. About a couple videos ago, I showed this record. This is a record by a band called Wax Machine. The name of the record is Earth Song of Silence. The correction is that when I showed this record a couple weeks ago, I called the band Earth Song of Silence. I didn't really realize that they were called Wax Machine, so a little confused there. I guess it should have been pretty obvious because it's written right down the back. Anyway, yeah, this is, just wanted to make that correction. This band is actually called Wax Machine. So, also just while I'm on that subject of corrections, these were the words, the lyrics to one of the songs. I thought they were the lyrics to all of the songs, but it's really all these words written out here are the words to just one song. On the back here, this was not actually a track listing. These are the words to the last song on the album. These are the words to, I think, the first song on side 2. So, it's cool inner sleeve. The rest of the stuff about the record was, you know, I think I was correct in that. It's an excellent sounding record. It's really good. I've been listening to it a lot, so I highly recommend that one to you. So yeah, I have gotten some new records. The first record I want to show you today is The New Abnormal. New album by The Strokes. Really excited about this one. It just sounds great. I received the download codes in the by email a few days before the record got here, so I downloaded it. I've been listening to it quite a bit over the past week or so. Got the record, and the record just sounds fantastic. I really like The Strokes. I would use this for background music during this video, but you know, it's got a lot of vocals in it and stuff, and it just doesn't work well for background music because, you know, Julian Casablancas' vocals are a really important part of this whole band. So we're not hearing it for background music, but yeah, it just sounds great. I love it. Julian's voice, it sounds fantastic. It sounds just like The Strokes. Produced by Rick Rubin, so I know he usually has a big effect on a lot of the bands that he produces, so I think he did a really good job on this one. Oh, I just wanted to show you that. So when I got the record, this record was, the record itself was slid into there like that, and so here's what the record looks like. It's on delicious black vinyl. The rest of this is it's plastic, so that comes out like that. It stays like this. Came with more download codes, so they sent me the ones by email. They also sent me that one. This is just a piece of cardboard, which is like the cover of the album. This album artwork is done by that artist named, his last name is Basquiat. I think there was a documentary film made about him. I think he was an artist in the early 80s, and so they used that for the cover art. This just has information on, you know, information about the record recording and stuff like that. And then it came with this poster. So, yeah, bands putting lots of posters in their records. I guess this is a pretty big poster. Very cool looking picture of the band there, and then on the other side of it is an expanded picture of that artwork. So, not sure how I feel about that packaging. I'm sort of old school. I just have a regular album cover, but anyway, that's the way it came. So, yeah, the record just really sounds great, though. I love Julian's voice. The two guitarists just work excellently together. They both just get a really good guitar tone. I wouldn't say either one of them is really the lead guitarist. I mean, they both just play their parts, and they work together really well. It just sounds excellent. What can I say? I like all the songs on here. It starts out great. The adults are talking. It sounds like The Strokes. Fantastic song on here called Bad Decisions, which I thought at the beginning of it anyway sounded a lot like Simple Minds. Reminded me of that, but then Julian started singing. Of course, it was different, but On side 2, there's a song on here called Not the Same Anymore, which is a little bit of a change of pace. And I think it's probably my favorite song on the album for now, but I really like all of it quite a bit. So, yeah, I was really happy to get that one. Yeah, so, yeah, The Strokes, A New Abnormal. That title, my understanding is they had that album title way before all this coronavirus stuff started. So, yeah, that's just the name of it. I got some other records from Discog vendor. This came up as my, this has been on my want list for a while. Camel, Mirage. So this really good looking copy came up. This is an album that was made in 1972, I think, but this is a 1981 reissue on Passport Records. And, well, the cover's just in great shape, which was really important to me because this album cover is just a great album cover. Another big reason for getting it. So I was glad to get it in such great shape. And the record itself is really good too. It's like Near Man or Very Good Plus. It just sounds excellent. So Camel is a progressive rock band, an English band from the early 70s. I have one other record by them, which is a live album. Most of that is instrumental. A lot of this is instrumental too. But it starts out with a song called Free Fall, which is really pretty much a straight ahead rock and roll song, or rock song anyway, with some really good guitar work on it. Then there's a song called Super Twister where the guitar player switches to flute. That really sounds nice. It begins to sound more like progressive rock then. And then Nimrodel. The third song is, it gets very much into that prog area. There are a lot of synthesizer. These musicians, there's a keyboard player, the guy who plays guitar also plays flute, then there's a bass player and drummer. They're all just really talented. I mean, fantastic players. So this sounds really excellent. And yeah, I will be listening to this. I wanted to listen to more progressive rock over the past year or so. And yeah, so Camel. Sounds really good. I'm enjoying that one. Came with this inner sleeve with pictures of the band, and here is information about the recording. It's on Passport Records. Here's what that one looks like. From that same Discogs vendor, I got another record that had been on my want list for quite a while. The Yardbirds. This is the 50th anniversary half-speed mastered at Abbey Road Studios. Here's what it looks like without the hype sticker. This album, I believe, is officially just called The Yardbirds, but everybody calls it Roger the Engineer, referring to this drawing, I think, of this guy, Roger the Engineer. So I like this one. It's like my third Yardbirds album. I have, the last one they made with Jimmy Page playing guitar, and then I have a Greatest Hits album. So this is the first one I have that's just the band. It's Jeff Beck is playing guitar on this one. There's liner notes on here, and then there's also quite a bit of information here. This was included in the 50th anniversary edition. The drummer, Jim McCarty, wrote an autobiography in 2016, and this is taken from that. So in here, he tells us that they wrote all these songs themselves. This is the first album that they recorded as an album. They'd recorded a lot of songs before then, but I guess they weren't recorded as an album. They went in and recorded singles. So all the songs on here are written by all the members of the band, and it sounds really good. This is, I guess I would call it straight ahead rock and roll. Songs are all written by the members of the band. There's a song on here called The Naz or Blue, which it tells me on here Jeff Beck sings. I didn't know he ever sang before, so that's interesting to hear. There's also an instrumental on here called Jeff's Boogie, where Jeff Beck just plays, and that was really good. I like this one. It's pretty much straight ahead rock and roll. There's a couple of songs on here which are sort of different sounding. I Can't Make Your Way and Hot House of Omagarashi, the first song on side 2, which is there's just some ya type vocals and stuff. Really good guitar work by Jeff Beck, but I don't really care much for the vocals on that first song on side 2. But for the most part, I really like this record. So yeah, the Yardbirds, Roger the Engineer. This is a mono. I copied this. It tells me that it was remastered from the original tape. So sounds really good. that is on Repertoire Records. Got another record from that same vendor on Discogs, A Hard Road by John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. This is a Sundazed reissue, another mono record. This record has been shown by so many people in the vinyl community, I couldn't even begin to list all the people who have shown it. So this has been on my want list for a while, and so I was really glad to get this one. This was it was new when I got it, so I'm always glad to get a new record. These liner notes are written by John Mayall. So this is a version of the band after Eric Clapton left. So Peter Green is the guitarist, so that was a big reason for wanting this one. John McVie is the bass player, and then the drummer is Ainsley Dunbar. There's John Mayall right there. So yeah, this is straight ahead blues. I think this is probably my first real straight ahead blues record, or one of the few that I have anyway, and it sounds really excellent. John Mayall does most of the singing, but Peter Green sings a couple of the songs. Liner notes are very interesting here. John Mayall wrote them. There's this weird part at the end here where he talks about, he says, blues in its true form is a reflection of a man's life and has to stem from personal experiences, good and bad. I accept that I've unwittingly hurt a lot of people who've known me. I have few friends left, and now the only thing to live for is the blues. So, I don't know. I've never seen anybody writing anything quite like that before. Something he's being kind of hard on himself, so I don't know if that was, if he's like playing a role there, and that's just something he wrote for the record, if he really was feeling bad about himself. But either way, it's a really good record. John Mayall plays guitar and keyboards and harmonica, and yeah, Peter Green is the lead guitarist, so yeah, really excellent. That one is on white vinyl with this cool London label. We get the red one because it is mono. So, yeah, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Hard Road. The record that we've been hearing in the background, I don't know if you can hear it very well or not. This came from a different Discogs vendor. So I got those records from one vendor, and the rest of the records that I'm going to show are jazz records. So these came from a different vendor. So this is Milt Jackson, but a few of us left. It's really, Oscar Peterson's name is just as big on this, and I think this is probably the Oscar Peterson trio with Milt Jackson playing with them. So this was recorded in 1982. It's just, jazz. I guess I would call it bop. And these are, I wouldn't necessarily call these jazz standards. I don't really know these songs. The sort of an irritating thing about this record is that the songs are all listed right here, but they're not listed in the order that they are on the record. So I wish they would list them in the right order so I can know what I'm hearing without having to look at the label on the record. But I guess it's sort of a minor point. These liner notes are written by Norman Granz, who produced this record. So this is on Pablo Records. It has the cool black and white cover. Pablo Jazz label. So yeah, it's straightforward jazz. We've been hearing it. I think it sounds really excellent. I'm a big fan of the vibraphone, so yeah, really glad to get that one. Got another Pablo. This is Eximius by the Joe Pass Trio. Joe Pass is a jazz guitarist. I had one other Joe Pass record where he's accompanying Ella Fitzgerald while she sings. That was really excellent. I understand he made a lot of records just strictly by himself, no accompaniment at all. But on this one, he is a bass player and a drummer. So Niels Henning Orsted Peterson plays upright bass. The drummer is Martin Drew. So yeah, once again, it's just straight ahead jazz, so sounds really good. I'm enjoying it. Here's the track listing. Same thing with this track listing. They're not in the order that they are on the record. So, you have to look at the label to know what you're hearing. This has a few standards on here that I could recognize without having to look at it, like Lush Life is on here, Love for Sale. They sound really excellent, but I just don't understand why they don't put the songs in order. But I guess that was what they decided to do. So, Joe Pass. Eximius, I looked it up in the dictionary. It's not listed in my dictionary. I looked it up online, and they said it just means excellent. So I don't know where they came up with that word, but here's what the Pablo label looks like. The record that we're hearing right now the label looks exactly like that. So, Pablo. Great jazz label started by Norman Granz. And I got one more record from that same vendor. This record was still sealed. It was a 1982 Original Jazz Classics, OJC, Trombone by 3. So these are, there are 12 songs on here by 3 different bands. And all the songs were recorded in 1949 or 1951. So I think they probably were 78s. And they probably were like, you know, one song on each side of the 78. So there's 4 songs by the J.J. Johnson Sextet, 4 songs by the Kay Winding Sextet, and 4 songs by the Bernie Green Septet. So, yeah, all recorded in 1949, or Benny Green was recorded in 1951. Then I think they were compiled under this album by Prestige in 1952, and then this is a 1981 reissue. So, the cool thing about this is the J.J. Johnson Sextet. Well, one of the cool things about it, it all sounds really good. J.J. Johnson Sextet, J.J. plays trombone, Sonny Rollins is the tenor sax player, and Kenny Dorham is on trumpet. So 1949, so this must have been some of their very first recordings. So good to hear then. John Lewis is on piano, Leonard Gaskin bass, Max Roach on drums. The Kay Winding Sextet, Kay, of course, on trombone, Brew Moore on tenor sax, Jay Mulligan on baritone sax. So once again, it must have been some of his very first recording too. George Wallington on piano, Curly Russell on bass, and Roy Haynes on drums. Cool song in here is A Night on Bop Mountain. And then the Benny Green Septet. So Benny Green I was not familiar with. He's a new person to me, but it sounds really good. It sounds really dated. These are kind of like those Charlie Parker records. They really do sound like they're from a different era. But they're really good to listen to, you know, I think for historical purposes and just to sort of, you know, lay the groundwork for what came later. So Eddie Lockjaw Davis plays tenor sax on here. Big Nick Nicholas also plays tenor sax. Rudy Williams on baritone sax, Teddy Brandon on piano, Tommy Potter on bass, and Art Blakey on drums. So there's some liner notes here that tell about each one of the bands. So yeah, it's really good. It's got a horrible album cover. I don't know if I'll leave that shrink on or not. So yeah, so this is an OJC, and with a cool Prestige label. Also gave me this Fantasy inner sleeve. That was nice. And that's it. So that's the records that I've gotten here in the first part of April. So obviously the Strokes is the big one for me. I mean, the Strokes album is just excellent. I've just been listening to it constantly, and just, you know, my only complaint about the Strokes is why don't they make more records? It's been like 5 years since the last one, so just encourage them to record more if they would. So otherwise, let me know what you think about these records, and hope everybody's doing well out there, and thanks very much for watching.